Welcome in, belly up, have a seat, and grab a drink as we talk some Wingman Fantasy Football. Welcome on into another edition of Wingman Fantasy Football, the league podcast. I'm your host, Michael Furley, and as always, I'd like to thank all of you, or any of you who may be watching or listening to today's show. It is Wednesday, October 29th. This is episode 184, and we go back in time for the Week 8 Rewind. In this show, we will close the books on Week 8 and transition into week number 9. We'll start off with some player news. We'll recap week number 8 of the Wingman Fantasy Football League. We'll check in on those updated standings, take a gander at our Goose-o-meter. Strap in, boys and girls. There'll be a Mike Rant later on in the show, and we'll take a glance at some waiver wire targets. And we'll play a little game I like to call Please Hold or Time to Go. And we'll let you know who took the high score and who's on top of the current standings in our Wingman Jam contest, where you, the audience, can join us and win some Wingman Fantasy Football prizes. We'll also preview the Thursday night game where the Baltimore Ravens flock down to Miami to take on the Miami Dolphins. But before we do any of that, I want to make sure that everybody is in the room. Wingman Assemble! All right, the theme for Week 8 was there were so many NFL blowouts and even more fantasy football blowouts as well. We had many backup quarterbacks who had a chance to show what they could do, and they did just that, showing that they can't do anything, as we had most of our backup quarterbacks stink in their opportunities to get onto the field. All right, guys, now for some news. Starting off with some league news, King George has renamed her team name King George Scadaboo in honor of her fallen knight. And that just goes right into our player news, as Cam Scadaboo was placed on season-ending IR after suffering a dislocated ankle. We're going to play this sound one last time for our fallen hero.
I'm a scat man. Skibbity-bitty-doo-doo-doo-doo.
You burned bright, young man. Maybe flew a little too close to the sun, but it was fun while it lasted. Hope you get better soon, Mr. Scadaboo. All right, other players that have been placed on the IR, Tutu Atwell, a receiver for the Rams, was placed on the IR with a hamstring injury. He's going to miss at least the next 4 weeks, and I have no indication if he's going to miss any more than that at the moment. So just expect Tutu Atwell to be gone for the next 4 games. Carson Wentz left it all on the field, literally, as he will now go on season-ending IR. He's expected to require shoulder surgery on his left shoulder, which will end his season. Dovetailing into that, J.J. McCarthy is expected to return to the starting lineup in Week 9 against the Detroit Lions. And potentially good news here, Nico Collins is expected to return to practice this week after missing Week 8 with a concussion. And Lamar Jackson, after all of that hullabaloo last weekend, has been practicing on the short week, and he's expected to play against the Miami Dolphins on Thursday night. Michael Carter, running back for the Arizona Cardinals, was released, and then he did clear waivers and was subsequently re-signed back to the practice squad as they were trying to. You can only call up a guy so many times before you have to sign him to their active roster. I guess this is a way to get around it. If you cut him and he makes waivers, you can maybe reset the clock. I'm not sure exactly how that goes, but I know that's the reason why they did the release to begin with. Staying in Arizona, Kyler Murray, who missed the last 2 games and they were on bye last week, was seen in the bonus practice early in the week, throwing to the team's main pass catchers. It's a little early in the week for official designations, but this is a good start to showing that Kyler Murray might return back to the field. All right, Jaden Daniels is going to return to practice this week, and it looks like he should be able to get back on the field. Keep in mind, though, the Washington Commanders play on Sunday night against the Seattle Seahawks, so have a backup plan ready just in case. And after seeing what Mariota did last week, I don't think Mariota can be your backup plan. I've never seen so many lollipop throws in my life since Tim Tebow. So Jaden Daniels hopefully will be back, but have a backup plan other than Marcus Mariota just in case he doesn't get back on the field. Isaiah Pacheco was the leading rusher in terms of carries and snaps this last week. Was not the best fantasy option as Kareem Hunt scored twice. However, if you saw late in that game, he took a helmet or a shoulder right to his kneecap. It's been determined he has a sprained MCL, and he's going to be week to week going forward. I expect him to miss at least a week coming out of this last game. And Tyler Shuck has now been named the starting QB in New Orleans. They're taking on the LA Rams in Week 9. Michael Penix is considered day-to-day with a knee injury, and he may return to action in Week 9 against the New England Patriots. And if we all saw how Kirk Cousins responded to the Miami Dolphins, I have a feeling Michael Penix is going to get back on the field this week. I don't know why they keep teasing us with this one. Brock Purdy, they say, may return to the starting lineup as they're not... the language was he is not considered a long shot to return to the field this week. I don't know what that means, guys. That means he's not been ruled out as of yet, but his Week 9 status is still up in the air, although we see that Mac Jones is getting figured out, also getting banged up, similar to that Carson Wentz, as the more he plays, the more he gets hurt. It's about time for Brock Purdy to get back. Nonetheless, they do play the Giants this week in a decent matchup, but we're going to want to follow those practice reports all the way to the end of the weekend to see if Brock Purdy may return. Staying in San Francisco, Brandon Ayuk
Hadouken!
is not expected to have his 21-day practice window open this week, meaning the 49ers receiver may still be weeks away from returning from the PUP list. He's on my team, guys. I have a question. Is it worth holding on to him for the uncertain future? Do we drop him? Do we try and trade him maybe for a steady playoff team who might want some players for the back end of the season to get some help for the short term? I don't know. He's taken a roster spot now for quite a long time, and I'm not sure what to do myself. All right, Bryce Young is not a lock to get back on the field in Week 9 against the Green Bay Packers, meaning Andy Dalton might get back onto the field one more week. He was atrocious last week, getting sacked over and over again, throwing picks and fumbles. I'm not sure if Dalton is just that bad now or he got it out of his system, but nonetheless, we're going to keep an eye on this. This might be a juicy matchup in terms of the defense if you have the Green Bay Packers on your roster. Rico Dowdle.
Suavemente.
Rico. Suave.
Rico Dowdle, who was a superstar while Chuba Hubbard was out. Since then, Chuba Hubbard has returned for the last 2 games, and they've been splitting work, but Dowdle has been more effective in the carries he's been getting, even though he hasn't outscored Chuba Hubbard due to touchdowns and of the like. But Rico Dowdle is expected to have an increased workload and become the clear starter over Chuba Hubbard, at least for the near future. The way they were describing here, Chuba Hubbard deserved a chance to earn his spot back. They gave him 2 weeks to see if he could take it. He has not outperformed Rico Dowdle, and Rico Dowdle has been a superstar in his carries this year. So it looks like Rico Dowdle has earned the trust from the coaching staff and going to take over that starting role. Patrick Surtain suffered a pectoral injury and may be a candidate to land on the IR. The overall defense for Denver is good, especially their front seven. But Patrick Surtain is the main reason why their secondary is as good as it is. And if he is missing, we have the Houston Texans this week. So I was really nervous having Nico Collins on my particular roster, but I'm getting a little more optimistic if Patrick Surtain is unable to play or even limited or banged up. All right, guys, it is now time to go back in time as we look at the Week 8 rewind.
Let's go back.
Week 8 rewind.
All right, it's time to take a look back at our fantasy football matchups in the Wingman Fantasy Football League. Our first game we're looking at here is Andrew's Crazy Fish up against Nick's Waddle Away. Andrew's Crazy Fish started the season 0-5, has won 2 in a row, so he came into this week at 2-5. Nick's Waddle Away is doing the best he can to tread water here, coming in at 3-4. But Andrew's Crazy Fish got his 3rd win in a row, taking this one down 90.13 to 69.16.
69.
As mentioned, after starting 0-5, Andrew's Crazy Fish has now won 3 games in a row. Both teams will now enter Week 9 at 3-5. Our next game on the list here is Jimerson's Red Sox Nation coming in at 2-5, up against Alex as they took our jobs, who came in at 4-3. This is a battle between our last 2 champions, as Alex as they took our jobs won last year's championship, while Jimerson's Red Sox Nation won 3 in a row prior to that, and even had a chance to win last year. But this one wasn't even close, guys. Red Sox Nation took this one 130.92 to 54.23. Alex's They Took Our Jobs was the lowest score of the week. And Red Sox Nation had the second highest score of the week. That combination lets you in on this was the biggest blowout of the week.
You got knocked the f*** out, man.
Red Sox Nation won this game by over 76 points. Wow, what a beatdown. All right, now it's time for Ben's Go Gators coming in at 4-3 up against the beleaguered Lions coming in at 1-6. And this one went how you thought it might, as Ben's Go Gators won this one 129.9 to 77.36. This is now for the second time this year a 3-game losing streak for Lion Eyes.
You're as cold as ice.
And on a stronger note here, for Ben's team here, this is the 3rd game out of the last 4 where he scored at least 128 points, as he has been dominating us in the second part of the second leg of the season here. So good job. So now let's see, Ben is at 5-3 while Lion Eyes falls to 1-7. Our next game here was a big battle between 2 teams at 4-3, where their season could be very strong with a win, and a loser would fall back to the pack, as Corey's May Daddy 2s came in against the Fantastics. Like I said, both 4-3, and May Daddy 2s dominated this one. Another blowout here, guys. 110.52 for May Daddy 2s to 82.21 for the Fantastics. May Daddy 2s improves to 5-3, while the Fantastics falls to 4-4. All right, guys, now it's time for our featured games, where we get a little more in depth in how this one went down here. This one was a battle of the hosts between yours truly and my co-host Bernie, who is of course not joining us this evening. And this one, guys, this one was an upset.
Average Joe's wins in a shocking upset.
I feel shocked.
Michael's Amazing Spidey came into this one at 3-4, while Bernie's Team B came into this one at 4-3. And like I said, it was an upset. Amazing Spidey won this one 134.98 to 104.50. Both of these teams had several missing players. One team due to bye weeks and one team due to injuries, as Amazing Spidey had no A.J. Brown, Nico Collins, or Mike Evans due to injuries. And Team B was missing Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jared Goff, and Kenneth Walker due to bye weeks. So they used their secondary players, and man, oh man, did they show up for Amazing Spidey. Amazing Spidey had the highest score of the week. And after starting the year, and after it being 1-4, Amazing Spidey has now won 3 games in a row to get up to 4-4. And this just continues the trend for Team B. He's either the highest scoring player in the league to get the win, or the highest scoring loser. And once again, this week, he was the highest scoring loser.
It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal. You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
All right, let's see what players helped Amazing Spidey get to this monster score of just under 135. Starting off with Brees. Brees Lightning Hall at 31.86 points. He went for a bold move sitting Drake May, putting in Joe Flacco. Didn't quite work out perfectly, but it worked out just fine, as Joe Flacco had 24.32 points.
He's heating up.
And RJ Harvey, what the heck was this? This was a dart throw in the good matchup against Dallas, and boy, did he come through with 3 touchdowns, getting 23.6 points. And thanks to Team B dropping Chris Boswell on his bye week 3 weeks back, Amazing Spidey made the pickup there, and he's been great ever since. Chris Boswell had 22 points with 4 field goals over 50 yards. And Kamani Vidal-Sassoon on the Thursday night game got things started off with 19.2 points. It wasn't all roses for Amazing Spidey. He did have one dud on the Monday night game. Deebo Samuel looked old, looked slow, and Marcus Mariota looked pretty bad there, as Deebo Samuel could only get 2.7 points. Amazing Spidey did have one strong player on his bench, as he was a little nervous with the matchup against the Cleveland Browns, but Drake May came through at 28.28 points to get his 3rd straight game as a top performer.
He's on fire!
And there was an injury here for Amazing Spidey. It's hard to say how serious it is at this point, but Joe Flacco is dealing with a shoulder injury listed as day-to-day. I'm a little nervous this might become something bigger, so just keep that in mind. But with Drake May as his main quarterback, he'll be able to survive a missed week or 2 from Joe Flacco. All right, now let's look at the players who might have helped Bernie's Team B get to a good score of over 100 points. He had only one player on his top performer list, but he is the best player in the league. Jonathan Taylor at 36.4 points. He is chugging along that train. This is at least his 4th game in a row with over 28 points. And I've got a new sound here for Mr. Jonathan Taylor. We're going to call him JT, as he is dressed for business.
As long as I got my suit and tie.
This guy has been amazing. 3 straight games with 3 or more touchdowns, and he has been an awesome player. But that was the only player on Team B who had a top performer, as everyone else was 12 points or less. He had no duds and no one on his bench who could have helped, as he had all those players on bye. He needs someone to help out Jonathan Taylor to get some of these victories. On a side note here, both of our teams, Team B and Amazing Spidey, are tied for the most difficult schedule, showing why Team B is the point leader, yet at 4-4. All right, our next featured game is Katie's King George versus Paul's Cubert Rage. Both these teams came into this week at 4-3, and this one was our closest game of the week, and it came down to Monday night. With King George down by 9.5 points, it was 1-on-1 with Travis Kelce versus Isaiah Pacheco. And of course, in National Tight Ends Day, weekend, I'm not sure how that falls, but Travis Kelce on Monday night had his best game of the season, getting 99 yards and a touchdown, and that was the difference, as King George came back on Monday night to win by less than 3.5 points. Paul's Cubert Rage, who started the year out 0-3, was on a 4-game winning streak, but this ended it there. So now Katie's King George Scadaboo has improved to 5-3, while Cubert Rage falls to 4-4. All right, let's see what players helped King George get this victory, even though it was close. Did I say the score? It was 81.13 to 77.66. Like I said, under 3.5 point differential. The top 2 performers from Katie's King George Scadaboo were her 2 players she acquired in the trade from yours truly, Justin Herbert at 27.28 points.
He's heating up!
And Travis Kelce at 18.9 points. She did have a dud, however, as Quentin Johnson had 0 points on Thursday night. She had no bench players who could have helped her score, but she had the biggest, most catastrophic injury of the week, as Cam Scadaboo is now out for the year with that dislocated ankle.
Oh, no.
All right, let's take a look at the players who were the strong players here for Paul's Cubert Rage. He only had one player in his top performer list, and that is his kicker, Kai May Fairbairn.
Care Bears, stare!
Jaime Fairbairn stared right through the uprights, getting 15.4 points. There was one dud on Cubert's Rage team, and that was the Monday night letdown of Isaiah Pacheco at 5.8 points. But he had some points on his bench that really would have made a difference, could have gotten the win here, as he had Jalen Waddle on the bench at 18.4 points, and Aronde Gadsden for the second straight week is on this list at 16.2.
He's heating up!
He did have the one injury of Isaiah Pacheco with a knee injury, and right now he's listed as week to week. There's a decent chance he's going to miss a game or two.
Uh-oh.
All right, on to our last featured game here. This is our high-profile matchup as both these teams were in first place in their divisions. They were both tied at 5-2 in the record, and they were only 2 points. They only separated by 2 points in overall score for the entire season. Jeff's Always Right came in at 5-2, while Brian's Under 40 also came in at 5-2. And this one came down to Monday night as with Under 40's points all in the books. Always Right had Patrick Mahomes left to go on Monday night down 6 points, and he crushed that one as Patrick Mahomes was a top performer. All right, so this one went down 104.66 to 84.53 in favor of Always Right. This was the first game Always Right survived while missing Puka Nacua as he lost his last 2 games with the injury to Nacua. All right, let's see what players helped him get to that 104.66 score. Starting off with the aforementioned Patrick Mahomes at 26.96 points. He is chugging along. And this is the 5th straight game where Patrick Mahomes had at least 26 points. My goodness, guys, what a rebound from the last 2 seasons. Chase McLaughlin also was a strong player, the number 2 kicker this week at 18.1 points. And Khalil Shakir chipped in with 17.8. He did have a couple duds at Tony Pollard at 5.8 points, Evan Ingram at 5.6, and he had some strong players on his bench as Tua Tagovailoa at 24.2 points, and Kareem Hunt got in the end zone twice, getting 16.7 points. There were no major or new injuries for Jeff's Always Right. All right, now let's see what players helped out Brian's Under 40. Could not get this one down, but he had some strong players this week, including Bo Stevie Nicks.
Where the landslide will bring it down.
At 25.88 points for Bo Stevie Nicks, he is heating up.
He's heating up.
And Devon the Man Achan contributed with 17.6 points. Even though he is not technically on fire because he had 11 points last week, he has every game this season. Devon Achan has scored at least 11.3 points. Been very consistent, scoring between 11 and 25 points. Very good for Devon Achan. And Rome wasn't built in a doomsday, had 14.9 points. But he had a big dud with a big opportunity. Atlanta Falcons receiver had a chance to take over with Drake London out. Darnell Mooney only scored 1.6 points. There was no one on the bench for Brian's Under 40 who could have helped, and there were no injuries for him as well. So both these teams are very strong and will go into Week 9 at full strength. All right, guys, now that we have Week 8 in the books, let's take a look at those updated standings. Oops, let me, pushed the wrong button here. All right, let's check this out. All right, our updated standings here. Let me find it. Okay, so our top 2 teams are the same as Always Right and Under 40, but we had some big-time movement in the middle here. Go Gators. Ben's Go Gators jumped from 7 to 3 as he had a monster game and a monster win. May Daddy 2's jumped from 6 to 4. Katie's King George Scattaboo jumped from 8 to 5. She went from outside the playoff line to inside the playoff line. Bernie's Team B fell from 3 to 6. Paul's Cubert Rage fell from 4 to 7. The Fantastics went from inside that playoff line to just outside at 8. Amazing Spidey with a decent jump here from 11 to 9. They took our jobs, fell 1 spot from 9 to 10. Red Sox Nation moved up 1 spot from 12 to 11. Crazy Fish moved up 1 spot. Waddle Away dropped down 3 spots to 13. And Lion Eyes is holding on to the basement at 14th place. So I'm looking at here, we have a tie from 6 to 10 at 4 and 4. Of course, we have a wide range of scores. That's going to be the tiebreaker in there. So, we're at the moment we have some teams at 500 that would not make the playoffs if the playoffs started today. All right, guys, let's take a look at our updated Goose-O-meter.
I'm just cruising along.
All right. We added one new Goose this week as King George Scadaboo had Quentin Johnson get 0 points on Thursday night. That is now her second Goose of the season, and she moves up to number 2 or tied for second for the most Gooses, but May Daddy 2s is still on top with 3 Gooses this season. All right, guys, it is now time for a Mike Rant.
Baby Rant. Karen Rant. Monty.
I don't care whose fault it is. I'm going to tell you exactly what I think.
Mike Rant.
Oh man, this one goes for, we're going to pour one out here for Cam Scadaboo.
I'm a scat man.
This guy became one of the most lovable favorite players of all of the NFL. A young rookie who was battling as a top number 1 running back, running through walls, running through tackles, headbutting people after he scored. This guy was a monster, a menace, and so fun to watch. And he just, like I said, flew too close to the sun. This star burned too bright, and now he's burnt out. What a sad day. I am so upset for all of fantasy football, and especially for King George, who even she hasn't renamed her team in years, and she renamed her team for her fallen hero, King George Scadaboo. Guys, this was a tough blow for everyone. We love you, Scadaboo. Get healthy, and we'll see you next year, my man. All right, that was a tough blow. All right, guys, it is now time for some waiver wire targets. And this is I've got a lot of people on this list because there's no clear-cut favorites here. Let's start with the quarterbacks. These are really the worst case scenario here, but let's go through them nonetheless. We've got Joe Flacco, should be on the top of the list, assuming his health, as he has been quite the performer since coming over to the Cincinnati Bengals. However, he is banged up. He is old. So we have to consider that he may not be able to play this week. So I wouldn't put a lot of money on here, and I'd honestly if you're gonna want to pick up Joe Flacco, put a medium to minimum bid, and then put a $0 bid on Jake Browning, because there is a chance Jake Browning's going to start. And they're playing Chicago, so they have a chance to have a pretty good matchup this week. I know Browning's was a big-time failure earlier in the season, but maybe just like a little bit of time watching, seeing how effective Joe Flacco was with those quick shotgun shuffle throws might give him, instead of trying to run around waiting for the people to get open, he might have learned something while he was watching there. Again, I'm not saying Jake Browning is better than Flacco, but I'm saying if Flacco misses, that Cincinnati quarterback has a chance to get points no matter who it is. All right, next up here, we have the Minnesota quarterbacks here with Carson Wentz going down, who is just filling in until J.J. McCarthy cut back. It appears that McCarthy is coming back. They do have a tough matchup against the Detroit Lions. But I also want to mention here the same way I mentioned with Flacco. He's been expected to be practicing or coming back for the last 2 or 3 weeks and hasn't. So there is a small chance that McCarthy isn't ready still. And just so you're aware, the backup quarterback now that Wentz is gone is Max Brosmer. So I have no idea how good he is. But if you're in desperate need of a starting quarterback and you're going to pick up McCarthy, again, put in a low bid on McCarthy and a $0 bid on Brosmer, as you might get. You don't want to spend too much money for someone who's not going to start this week, especially if you need that player for this week. And I honestly think Bryce Young's going to miss again, although it's not certain quite yet. Can Andy Dalton be that bad 2 weeks in a row? Probably. But nonetheless, with getting the rust off last week, maybe Andy Dalton could improve this week, although a tough matchup against Green Bay. I don't like any of these QB guys to pick up this week. If you need somebody, you can pick up, I would say, any of these guys if you need a start, but no one here is worth putting any money on. Joe Flacco, if healthy, definitely is, but by this point, he's probably already been picked up. All right, now for some running backs. These are interesting here as we have a range of pickups from I need to start now to someone I can play for the next 4 or 5 weeks, per some stashes and stuff like that, and handcuff pickups. All right, let's start with Bam Knight. Arizona Cardinals running back. They're playing Dallas. It's a Monday night game, so you got to wait to use them. But nonetheless, Dallas just gave up 3 touchdowns to R.J. Harvey, over 100 yards. I think it was 100 yards, if not close, to J.K. Dobbins. Dallas is a sieve when it comes to defense this year, guys. He has been splitting carries with Michael Carter, although the share has been going more towards Bam Knight the last couple weeks. Obviously, they were willing to lose Michael Carter as they cut him this week, hoping he would clear waivers. Of course, he did, so they have him back. So he's still there to split carries to some degree, but they were willing to take the chance, which means Bam Knight is their guy. The only thing I have here is that since Bam Knight's more that first and second down back, here's a little sneaky one here. He's on my list here because I'm in big time trouble. I might pick up a guy here, Amari DiMercato. He was out last game due to an ankle injury. They were on bye this week, so we're not sure of his health going into week number 9. But Dallas does score a lot of points. There's a chance they might use their third down back more often than their 1-2 first down, second down running back. Amari DiMercato, similar to RJ Harvey this past week, might be the one who actually gets more big plays in less opportunities. All right, with the absence of Cam Scatterbo for the rest of the year, Tyron Tracy will be the starter going forward. He's not the best running back, but he did have some moments last year. He's going to be your RB2 type with a in that range of 6 to 19 points top. He'll probably be in that 8 to 12 points more often. But if you need someone to play, as there are a lot of injuries and a lot of bye weeks, it could be worse. I don't like the matchup this week against San Francisco, although their defense is struggling more than usual. So I guess I wouldn't fear San Francisco. Tyron Tracy is worth putting some money here. So here's the question. Do you need a starter this week because of bye or short-term injury? I'd put the money on Bam Knight. This is the 1 week play. I'd put $0 to $1 on Amari DiMercato if it's just for the value. And then Tyron Tracy, you're going to be able to use him for the next 3 to 4 weeks until he gets potentially hurt. It depends what you need. If you need a starter for this week only, Bam Knight's your guy. If you need someone who can play for the next 3 to 4 weeks, Tyron Tracy is your guy. Keep in mind, though, Trey Benson's not coming back for another 2 to 3 weeks, so Bam Knight will still be good for the next 2 to 3 weeks as well. But this matchup against Dallas is what we're aiming for. When you're streaming, you're playing 1 week at a time. Bam Knight is the man. All right, even though he's splitting carries here, Kyle Monangai for Chicago. They're playing against Cincinnati, guys. There's going to be so many opportunities. We saw what Breece Hall did last week and Isaiah Davis. There's going to be a chance for both of these running backs to get some numbers against Cincinnati. Jadon Blue is slowly getting more and more carries for the Dallas Cowboys. However, he's not really performing. Had a big-time fumble last week. They're playing Arizona, who's a decent defense, but not great. This is more of a stash. This is not a pickup to play. This is a stash. Devin Neal against the Green. They're playing the Rams. I'm sorry. Devin Neal against the Rams. He's the backup running back now in New Orleans since Kendra Miller is now out. He's worth a stash, and Alvin Kamara has not been good all year. There's going to be a certain point where they're going to either trade him or give some more work to the young rookie. Again, this is more of a stash play. Nonetheless, keep an eye on Devin Neal in that regard. Emmanuel Wilson, this is a little tricky here as Josh Jacobs has been banged up. He's been banged up. They've been splitting carries 50-50, although they're using Jacobs when they need those touchdowns late in games. But Wilson had over 10 points last week in fantasy without scoring a touchdown, as he had, 80 yards with 3 catches, give or take, overall. In a matchup against Carolina, there's a chance that they'll be up by so much here that they won't need Josh Jacobs to get those high leverage plays. Again, they didn't really use Jacobs except for that third quarter when they were down coming out of halftime. They used Wilson a lot more. I'm actually considering putting Wilson in my starting lineup as a dart throw this week, as I think he's going to be the main back if they can keep the lead, and they're going to try and give Josh Jacobs a little bit of a rest as he deals with that calf injury. All right, these are guys who are on bye this week, but we saw some things out of these guys due to some potential injuries. Tank Bigsby for the Philadelphia Eagles came in a quarter, got over 100 yards on like 9 carries for the Philadelphia Eagles. So it seems to me with A.J. Dillon being a healthy scratch, that Tank Bigsby has been promoted as more of the handcuff in terms of Saquon Barkley. Again, they are on bye this week. I don't know if you want to hold a player you can't use for a week. Saquon Barkley did leave the game with a groin injury by the end, but they were up by so much. I think that's why he didn't come back in. And apparently he's good to go. So I don't think he's going to be an immediate play due to that injury. But again, a handcuff on a powerhouse team with a player who's already nicked up, I think it's worth the stash. Tank Bigsby is a decent play. You probably get him for really cheap because they're on bye this week. If you want to get ahead of it at a cheaper price, go ahead and stash Bigsby on the back of your bench. Another running back whose team is on bye this week, Dylan Sampson for the Browns. All right. We had Kinshon Junkins get ruled out quite early in that last game with a shoulder injury. And they don't have to tell you anything because they're on bye for the next 5 to 10 days. We're not going to know the severity of the injury. But I have heard from some fantasy medical type experts here that I trust enough that said they were not very confident in the type of mechanism and how quickly they ruled out Kinshon Junkins in this game. Dylan Sampson has a chance to be the starter here for the next couple weeks. Again, this is just speculation here, but you can put him on the back of your bench for free. No one's picking him up this week on a bye week, and you might have a lucky starter for the next couple weeks. Keep in mind here, the Browns are always down in these games, and Dylan Sampson is a pass-catching type running back. He's got 6 and 8 targets in the 2 games where he played prior to Keyshawn Junkins getting into the fold here. So he's not as good as Junkins, obviously, but in these game scripts, he might be a very valuable play. Again, depending on what you have on your bench, there's bye weeks and injuries. Bigsby and Sampson are guys you can stash on the back of your bench. And I think Sampson's actually going to be a playable asset for the next week or two following week number 9. All right. Now for our receivers, a couple of these guys on top here should already be taken, but let's just go through them just in case. Aronde Gadsden. Oh my. Oh, who are they playing? I didn't have it written down here right. Shoot. Aronde Gadsden, rookie tight end for the LA Chargers. I don't have their matchup this week. I'm sorry. But he's been a stud ever since he's come onto the scene the last 3 weeks here. Been a huge part of their offense. Very athletic. They throw it in. It seems like when Herbert is scrambling, he's the guy he sees as he's getting more and more separation away from the linebackers that are guarding this speedy tight end. Gadsden is a definite pickup. And honestly, if Kubert's Rage would have put him in his lineup last week, he would have won. Not saying that it was an obvious play. I'm just saying this guy's been very valuable, can help you get some points here. Pick up Gadsden, depending on your roster. Consider playing him in a flex, if definitely a tight end, if not even a flex. All right, we got Kayshawn Booty. Kayshawn Booty. Get it together and bring it back to me. I had this guy on my team for several weeks. He was kind of my pick up and drop. And then finally, May Daddy 2s picked him up, put him in his lineup, and he came through for him once again at 15 point some odd points. He has been very good. He had 3 games from week 3 to 5 that were not very good, but week 1, week 2, week 7, and week 8, he's been very productive. So he's a 50-50 player at best, streaky at worst here, and he is a quality player. With Drake May being so effective on the long passes, he's actually their main long bomb catch receiver, mixed in with Demario Douglas, as Stephon Diggs is definitely more of your control short yardage receiver here. He's probably been picked up, but he's definitely worth holding on to. They're playing the Cleveland Browns, who are much better at stopping the run than the pass. Oh, they played the Browns last week. I did this again. I kept last week's game. They're playing the Titans. I'm not sure. Shoot, pardon me. Not sure who New England's playing this week. I didn't have that updated there. I apologize. All right. We have Christian Watson, made his debut last week, caught 3 or 4 passes for 80 yards, had over 10 points in fantasy points, and he seemed to unlock the passing game as Jordan Love finally had a good game this season. The combination of the injury, of the not big-time injury, but the limiting injury to Josh Jacobs, and now the more full range of receivers here, as you've got your all-around possession receiver in Dobbs, your streaky threat here in Golden, and then your speedster, your the guy who can go reverses to, screens to, and long bombs. Christian Watson is going to be a very sneaky play for the next few weeks. I said his name wrong last week. I called him Dyke. His name is Chimere DK, a rookie wide receiver for the Tennessee Titans. They're playing the Chargers this week. There we go. That's all right. Chargers are playing Tennessee. There, I found it. He's been very good the last couple weeks. It's hard to say which rookie you like better, Io Manor or DK. DK's actually been a little more productive the last couple weeks. You can go with either one here, but he is out there. Again, Tennessee, they've looked a little better. Still losing. Looked a little better since they made the coaching change. Just more, they've looked less overwhelmed. They're going to be in passing down scripts over and over again. So Chimere DK is a decent pickup if you need him. Christian Kirk or any of the Houston Texan receivers that are available. We've got Xavier Hutchinson, Jalen Higgins or Jaden Higgins? Pardon me, I'm not sure which one. And then we have Noel. All four of these guys are dart throws. But again, this Denver matchup is not as scary with their potentially missing Patrick Surtain. You pick the one you like best. Put a $0 bid on all four of them if you want. Maybe a $1 bid on your favorite if you need somebody. But I think any one of these guys has a chance to get points this week. We're still not sure if Christian Kirk's going to get back on the field, as he did miss last week due to injury. So maybe that would be the tiebreaker to the youngins. I like Xavier Hutchinson as the touchdown maker. He seems to get the one in the end zone. Higgins got the most targets last week, but he's not as efficient. And Noel is your streaky, lucky guy. I think Hutchinson is your more all-around player. He might be the one to go for of those Texans receivers. All right, Colston Loveland. He's been letting us down over and over again, but the Bears are playing Cincinnati, guys. And we mentioned it last week. Cincinnati now has given up 10 touchdowns to tight ends, as even Mason Taylor got in there last week, albeit being a pass from Breece Hall. If Colston Loveland's going to have a good game this year, it's going to be this week. If you need a desperation pickup at the tight end position, Colston Loveland is your desperate play this week. I promise you that. And he might even be worth a desperation flex as well. And Darius Slayton, with Malik Neighbors being gone, and now Cam Scatterbo being gone, he is going to be the long threat passing target here for Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart definitely runs around a lot, but he has a decent arm here. He's been playing pretty well, getting, I think, 19 points in every game since being a starter in terms of fantasy points. Darius Slayton, he had a touchdown called back on a phantom pass interference, so his stats weren't as good as the game tape was. Darius Slayton is going to be the main receiver with the highest upside in terms of Giants receivers. All right, now going to our special teamers here. We've got our kickers, Evan McPherson for the Cincinnati Bengals up against Chicago. This one has a chance to be a pretty high-scoring game. There's going to be field goals in this game, I believe, as well. And the same side here, Cairo Santos looked great last week for the Bears in that Cincinnati game. Again, going to be points going all around. Might be 5 extra points, but if we can get 1 or 2 field goals mixed in, that will be great. Joshua Carty, he likes to party. Again, not very consistent in terms of making his kicks, but an offense that can get up and down the field. Against the New Orleans Saints, we saw what Chase McLaughlin did last week for the Bucks. The Rams have a chance to get multiple scores, including a couple field goals. Now for our defenses this week. Some of these guys might be taken, but it's really hard to tell what defenses are out there in your league. It depends. LA Rams against New Orleans. You got a rookie quarterback making his debut. Tyler Shuck has not impressed in the preseason. Didn't look overly good in last week garbage time. There's a chance here that the Rams could cause havoc for the young quarterback. That is a team to watch. And Green Bay up against the Carolina. I've got Green Bay on my team. They were a highly ranked defense, but in terms of fantasy, they're not doing it, guys. They're getting like 2 sacks a game at best. They haven't gotten any turnovers or touchdowns. Does that mean they're due? I don't know, but we saw what Andy Dalton did last week against Buffalo. 3 interceptions in the first half, sacks after sacks after sacks. If he's going to fail once again or even start, Green Bay might get their first chance to get a defensive score. We'll see. I've got both these defenses on my team, Rams and Green Bay, and I don't know which one to play, as both these matchups are great. And we have the Jacksonville Jaguars. Finally had a couple games without getting those turnovers that they started the season with, but they're playing against Las Vegas. Geno Smith likes to give up sacks and likes to throw interceptions. I think before 2 or 3 interceptions last week, he was leading the league in interceptions. I'm not sure where they fall now. They had a bye last week, so he's probably still 2nd or 3rd in the league in interceptions. And Jacksonville is really good at the takeaways. All right, guys, if we're going to pick up all these guys, or at least consider it, we have to consider who we might drop to make these moves. So it's time for a game I like to call Please Hold or Time to Go.
You've reached Wingman Fantasy Football. Please hold. Yeah, we're gonna have to let you go. So, just pack up your things and leave your key pass on the desk before you leave. Okay? Alright.
Damn, it feels good to be a gangster.
All right, we're looking at some guys who have let us down, even some players that actually had a decent game last week. All right, let's start with the tight end, Dalton Schultz out of Houston. He had his chance to shine last week without Nico Collins, and he just didn't do it as C.J. Stroud is getting more and more comfortable with those rookie receivers. I'm sorry, Dalton Schultz. It was nice. It was nice while it lasted, but it is time to go.
It's time to go!
Xavier Legette had a couple good games, had a great fourth quarter with Andy Dalton coming in 2 weeks ago, but it seemed like with a full week of practice, Andy Dalton did settle into a rhythm with the player that we all should be wanting to play, Tedero McMillan. Unfortunately, Xavier Legette, it's not an automatic get rid of here, but let's see. Let's look at some of our guys we mentioned. Let's see. Christian Watson, Keyshawn Booty, Gatson, definitely let Legette go. Chimere DK, that's a little closer. That's a little closer, about even. But if you need a spot, I would start Colson Loveland this week over Xavier Legette purely because of the matchup. So with that being said here, there's no reason to hold on to him. I think it's time to let Xavier Legette go.
It's time to go!
All right, this one's a little interesting. Mason Taylor had one of his best games of the season last week. It might have been his best. I haven't verified that. I think he only had 2 games with double-digit scores. Mason Taylor, though, your game was last week against the Cincinnati Bengals. Thank you for your service, but unfortunately, it is time to go.
It's time to go!
And this last one here, Calvin Ridley's missed the last 2 games. Can he get back and get better with the more improved offense with the coaching change? Hasn't been that much more improved, but a little better. Or is he just going to cede to the rookies here? Io Manor has already been outperforming really when they were on the field, and now Chimere DK is also getting into a groove. This one's close, guys. I'd put him out there as a sabotage. At least maybe put him in a trade package. He doesn't even have any value in a trade right now. So what are you going to do? Going to hold him on the back of your bench and just see if you happen to put him in on that random one good game? Or are you going to wait for that good game, put him in, and then see a dud? This one is a sabotage drop. There's really no reason to hold on to Calvin Ridley.
It's time to go!
All right, guys, it is time to take a look back at our last week's Wingman Jam. This is a game where we can play with our the audience can also join us here. What you do is you pick an NFL team, you pick any 2 offensive players from that team, and then we go heads up to see who gets the best score of our duo in our Wingman Jam. There's only a couple rules here. You can't pick a team that you have already picked, similar to a survivor pool, and you can't pick a team that another manager has picked for that week. So with that being said, we use half-point PPR scoring, no negative points for interceptions or fumbles. All right, let's take a look at last week's Wingman Jam results.
Wingman Fantasy Football.
Wingman Jam with Bernie the Bounty Hunter and Amazing Spidey. Boom shakalaka. All right, who did we pick? Indianapolis Colts. Denver Broncos. It's time to put our Knicks on the table.
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
All right, I selected the Denver Broncos with Bo Nix and Cortland Sutton, while Bernie went with Daniel Jones and Jonathan Taylor of the Colts. Let's see how this one played out. Oh man, we had a huge score this week for Bernie at 49.58 points to my team getting 34.58.
That game flew harder than your grandfather standing over his birthday cake on his 100th birthday.
A big blowout of over 15 points. Well done, Bernie. You took this one between the 2 of us. Let's see how you fared against
this one. Team B wins.
Sorry, I'm a little off of my time here. You took this one down, Bernie. All right, let's see how you fared against our other competitors who joined us this week. We did have one other manager join us as Andrew selected the Kansas City Chiefs with Kermit Mahomes getting 26.96 points and Rashee Rice getting 21 points at 47.96. Bernie won by just over half a point. Oh my goodness, that was very close. You guys did really well. Both of you guys getting over 47 points this week. All right, let's take a look at the standings in week 1 of phase 3. Andrew got the second place finish, but he had the rollover point from last phase. Again, if you guys don't earn a seat, you get your participation points. They roll over. So he is at 4 points. Bernie at 4 points. I got 2 points this week, and Ken T still has his rollover point from phase 1. Keep in mind, our tiebreakers are going to go to our audience members for sure. And if there's a tiebreaker between multiple audience members, the team with the most first place finishes will get the tiebreaker. All right, guys, thank you so much here. Go ahead and let us know what your next week's Wingman Jam team and players are. We'll let you know who we pick on our Friday morning show, and then you can follow suit after that. We don't use the Thursday night game because we got this out on Friday morning. So come on and join us. The manager who finishes at the top of the standings after these next 3 weeks of Phase 3 will earn a seat in the Showcase Showdown in Week 14. And then we'll do another phase in Phase 4, weeks, what are we in here? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. The winner of 11, 12, 13 will also earn the second seat in the Showcase Showdown, where those two managers will go heads up one-on-one to earn some Wingman Fantasy Football swag. All right, guys, very good, very good. All right, it is now time as we preview. We're finally turning the page. Let's get into week number 9 here. We're going to do our Thursday night game preview. All right, so we have the Baltimore Ravens heading down to Miami. This game is at 8:15 p.m. on Thursday night. The over-under is 50.5 points, 50.5. Big over-under. And we have a road favorite, the Baltimore Ravens, at minus 7.5 points. The way I'm looking at this game, I don't know if it's going to hit the over, guys. That's just a big number again. And Thursday nights for road teams I think they're a little tough. So I'm going to go with Miami covering this one. I think they're going to keep it closer than that 7.5. But Baltimore should win this one, as Derrick Henry should be able to run all over the Miami Dolphins. We'll see how we do on this one. All right, let's break down some of the fantasy options. Let's start with the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson, if he's back, if he's in, you got to play him. He's already missed 4 weeks, 3 weeks of game time and a bye. Oh my, we've been jonesing to get Lamar Jackson back in our lineup. And against the Dolphins, it is juicy, juicy, juicy. Even more juicy than Lamar Jackson's matchup is Derrick Henry. Oh my gosh, he should eat. We know Bijan Robinson let us down last week, but there's no way the Dolphins can stop 2 powerhouse running backs back to back. If they do, I'm going to give Miami Dolphins all the credit in the world. I just don't think they can do it 2 times in a row. Derrick Henry might be one of the top 2 or 3 running backs this particular week. All right, now for the receivers for Baltimore. I'm going to group these 2 guys together, although you might have your favorite. Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman. This one's close. Flowers is definitely ahead in terms of pedigree here, or at least name value here. Honestly, not looking to play either of these guys. It all depends on who you have and who you're missing on by. Zay Flowers is, I would say, a flex. A wide receiver 2 at best, flex at safest. And if you can find a sneaky play, I'd honestly even play something like Colston Loveland ahead of Zay Flowers this week. That's how much I like that Cincinnati matchup. Again, you might look crazy doing something like that, but I'm saying that's the line I have here. Zay Flowers is a flex, in my opinion, and it all depends on who you have and if you like the streamers out there. Rashad Bateman could show up. You just can't count on it. You can't put him in your lineup with any confidence, although you might be kicking yourself after you see the final tally. All right, now for the tight ends here. Andrews and Likely, you just can't play him, even in the tight end position. Andrews over and over again. He only had 1 good game this season, and Likely hasn't showed up as well. Maybe Lamar Jackson gets him going, but I would look for other options. Again, we mentioned Colston Loveland. If he's not good enough for a flex in your position for your team, I play Loveland over both of these guys. If Gadsden's out there, I'd definitely play Gadsden over both these guys. I am avoiding the tight ends for the foreseeable future for the Baltimore Ravens. But we have a decent player, the Baltimore defense, who has been banged up, has been run on a little bit. But Tua Tagovailoa was so good last week. But before that, he led the league in interceptions. How much do you trust Tua on a short week? That's the question you have to ask yourself. If you trust him, stay away from the Baltimore defense. If you think that was just a lucky day, not a lucky day, but a day that comes few and far between, go ahead and load up that defense for Baltimore, as there's a chance for a couple turnovers and a couple sacks, as well as Keaton Mitchell maybe getting a punt return for a touchdown. All right, moving over to the Dolphins side, we have players here. Tua. Again, how much do you trust Tua here? I actually like this matchup for Tua. a little bit, not in terms of maybe not throwing interceptions, but being down and having to throw to catch up here, I would not be afraid to play Tua. I usually shy away from Thursday night game players. I don't have him rated super high. I would say, without looking at the bye weeks, in that 9 to 12 range. He is definitely worth playing, but there's also options out there that you could play ahead of him. So it kind of depends on who you have. If you're streaming, I think he's a valuable streaming quarterback. If you got someone you like, I'm not going out of my way to put him in. A-Chan, what can you say? He's been amazing. We mentioned before, has had no games less than 11.3 points, double digits every week, and most of the time he's at 17 or more. He is an automatic start. Jalen Waddle, a little up and down, had a great week last week, looked great, played the part, was amazing, honestly. Was that enough to give you the confidence to trust him once again? It is a decent matchup with that banged up defense. You know, I'm kind of feel like I'm contradicting myself here. Like, play the Baltimore defense if you don't like Tua. Tua's going to have a game script here. Can Waddle do it? This is a package deal. If you really think, if you want to play Tua as that streamer, like I said, that's not a bad play. It's not an automatic play. But if you're willing to roll the dice with Tua, I think you have to roll the dice and put Waddle in there as well. Get that Dolphins stack. It's kind of an all or nothing here with that stack here. Although, honestly, it's really hard to sit Waddle. We had a manager sit Waddle last week, and that might have been the difference in his loss. But if he plays in this week, it might be the difference in a loss, again, as we've had Waddle been duds for our teams as well. This is a close your nose, take your medicine, and see what happens here. It's hard to say. Malik Washington and Ollie Gordon, these are guys who are in that flex spot here. Ollie Gordon, I think he got a lot of action last week because they were up by so much. He's definitely part of the running game, but the fact that they were up against Atlanta gave him more opportunities to be the power back in that second half. I don't foresee that being the case. This is going to be a highish scoring game. Again, 50.5, I don't think it's going to beat there, but it's going to be in that 24 to 18 range, something like that. It's going to be high enough scoring where I don't think Ollie Gordon, if he doesn't score in that first one or two drives, he is going to be quite muted. Malik Washington is a dart throw, and I don't like doing dart throws on Thursday night. All right, guys, thank you. Let us know what games you want us to preview other than the Thursday night game on our next show. Leave a comment and just let us know which games you want us to break down, and we'll do that for you. We'll go through our 3 featured games on our Friday morning show as voted on by you, the audience. All right, guys, I want to thank you all so very much for joining us for another episode of Wingman Fantasy Football, the League podcast. I want to thank all you guys who might have stumbled across our show and all those who have returned as well. We had a lot more views this past week, and I appreciate it. Again, if you find us by accident, thank you for stopping by. Hey, we are open forum here. If you want to tell us what we can do to maybe improve or make it a little more enjoyable for you, we are down for the criticism and down for the constructive opinions here. I have a hard time getting words sometimes. But if you want to find us on our audio feeds, our podcast platforms, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, YouTube Music, and Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and the Odyssey app. And when you're there, guys, leave a comment, go ahead and review, and go ahead and share, and let your friends know so we can spread the love and hopefully grow this show. Also, if you want to see our beautiful faces, our jack-o'-lantern back there, and our helmets on the wall, go ahead and go to our YouTube channel at wingmanfantasyfootball.com/YouTube or youtube.com/@wingmanfantasyfootball. When you get there, guys, do me the favor, hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Let us know which Wingman Jam duo you want. Let us know what games you want us to break down, and leave any questions or comments, and we'll put it into our next mailbag segment. With that being said, guys, thank you so very much. Mr. Bernie will be with us next show. I hope he had a good night off as we do this very early in the morning heading into Wednesday. With that being said, may your glasses be full, your mugs stay frosty, and we will see you next time.